Logan is directed by James Mangold, written by him, Scott Frank, and Michael Green, and stars Hugh Jackman, Patrick Stewart, Daphne Keane, Stephen Merchant, Boyd Holbrook, and Richard E. Grant. And Logan takes place after the events of X-Men Days of Future Past in the year 2029, where mutants have been almost entirely wiped out, and an aging Logan is taking care of an ailing Charles Xavier. But things take a turn for the worse when Logan meets a little girl named Laura, played by Daphne Keane, who is being hunted by a whole bunch of bad people. Now, I was 100% on board with this movie as soon as the very first trailer came out. It just looked so different. It looked not like a superhero movie, but like a western. It looked like a straight drama. And of course, I was invested because this was, supposedly going to be Hugh Jackman's last outing as the character of Wolverine. And man, they got this movie right. They got it so right. This is easily the best X-Men movie we've ever gotten so far. It has incredibly brutal but satisfying action, some beautifully realized characters, and an entire cast that really brings those emotions home. Now, Logan is essentially a road movie, and like with all the best road movies, this movie isn't about the destination, but about the characters themselves and the world that they inhabit. And in terms of those things, like this is really uncommon for a superhero movie, because what I'll say about this movie is that it's similar to Days of Future Past in that it's about hope, but the way it delivers this message is very different, because it really just depicts this as, characters trying to hold on to something in a very bleak world. And it's very much also about, Logan trying to find a family for once in his life. I love where the characters are here. Logan is slowly losing his powers. He's even more antisocial than he was in any of the previous movies. Charles is carrying a lot of weight on his shoulders. And it really is just an examination of superheroes and what they do when they have no one else to save, because they can't save the world anymore. The only people they have left to save is themselves, and it's really, really interesting to see that play out. Now, in terms of acting, this movie, again, just gets it so right. I would love for Hugh Jackman to be nominated for Best Actor at the Oscars. I'm sure that is probably never gonna happen, but it would be amazing, because what I love about Hugh Jackman is that in every time he's played Logan, he's added something new to the performance to make the character a bit more dynamic. And here, you really believe that this is like a natural progression from the Logan we've seen before. You really believe that he's had enough, and he really just wants nothing to do anymore with any sort of act of heroism. But when you see Hugh Jackman rage out in this movie, it's like seeing it for the first time. It is incredible. It's so beautiful, and Hugh Jackman still definitely has the physicality for this role. And a lot of people are talking about how Patrick Stewart could get nominated as well for Best Supporting Actor. I can definitely see that. The way he plays Charles here is very different from before. He's very disturbed here. He has no filter anymore. And he's also the source of some extremely moving human moments. And then you've got Daphne Keane, who plays Laura, and she is just bound to be a star. At times throughout this movie, she is more animal than human, and you would think that the child actor would be a bit shy about their performance. But here, she just has no inhibitions, and she really, really plays the part well. And one person who almost stole the show for me, who I think, people haven't been talking about enough, is Stephen Merchant as Caliban. He's a comedian, Stephen Merchant, but here he just plays this straight dramatic role. Caliban is this other mutant who is living with Logan and Charles, and he's just such a haunted individual who really just is trying to survive. You feel really bad for him. He's so emotionally affecting. And I was just so impressed with how James Mangold stayed true to the tone of this movie. It does feel like a real Western in that silence and bleakness are essential to the storytelling, and the landscape also plays into that as well. And unlike the Wolverine, James Mangold's other Logan film, there's no big third act CGI fest. Fox really let James Mangold do his thing here. But when the action hits in Logan, it's the kind of brutality you've wanted to see from Wolverine since the year 2000. And there's a lot of action in this movie, and every encounter really feels tense, and you really feel like something is at stake, because for the first time in this franchise, the pain really does feel real. and it's brutal, it's dirty, but all the action is clearly directed, and this is a great example of a movie that needed an R rating in order to tell its story properly. It uses this R rating to really immerse us better and to make us feel more. All the makeup work in this movie is appropriately gruesome, really helps you feel just the horror of what these people are doing to each other. The relatively little CGI that's there never gets in the way. Like, the biggest CGI effect is Boyd Holbrook's character's metal arm. Logan definitely has a considerably lower budget compared to other X-Men films, and you can tell, but you know, never as a negative. You know, I just love how this movie looks, how it feels so independent, how bare everything is, as if the apocalypse is just about to happen. And the cinematography from John Matheson really highlights that bleakness, and the best visual moments in Logan are when Charles loses control of his powers, and it's really, really spectacular. And like I said, there's a lot of action in this movie, but there are a lot of moments as well when things slow down, and I really appreciate that. Real credit has to go to the editors Michael McCusker and Dirk Westervelt for taking this movie really seriously and trusting that the audience would pay attention to a story that required a slower pace, you know. And throughout the film, I never felt the need to check the time. I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. Even if it was a slow burn, I felt like I was in the moment. I do have a couple of little negatives with Logan. First of all, there is an emotional moment or two that I wanted to linger a bit longer. I wanted the gravity of the situation to really sink in. You could argue that how they do it in this movie is appropriate if you look at Logan as a standalone film, but I think it's undeniably linked to other X-Men films, so I wanted, you know, the situation to have more gravity. The other flaw I have with Logan is a bit more noticeable. It's this big exposition scene that happens in the middle of the film where the characters just sort of watch a video screen. It really just stops the pacing dead and is completely unnecessary. Also, towards the end, there's a bit too much exposition, I feel, that did kind of take me out of the moment. But all in all, Logan is a great, great movie. Again, this is the best X-Men film we've gotten so far. This is a great superhero movie for people who don't like superhero movies, but it's also a great superhero movie for those who have grown up with the genre and to see where, you know, these characters have gotten. If this really is Hugh Jackman's last performance, it's a great send-off, and I can't wait to see what Fox does next in terms of R-rated films, because they're really good at it. Alright, so those are my thoughts on Logan. Have you guys seen it? What do you think about it? Whatever you guys think, whether you agree with me or not, please leave me a comment. Let's have a conversation.